Good evening and welcome to TNN's presentation of Women's Talk, a roundtable discussion. I'm Trevor Lindsay, your host. You've seen Men's Talk in the barbershop, and I felt it was only necessary to allow women to have their say. I've been asked countless times, what about us, men and women? So the discussion will start. I got 4 ladies at present to start the discussion, and we have more that's going to be on the sideline. My video just dropped out. Continue watching. But ladies, introduce yourself and let's talk. You can start here. Here you go.
Good evening. My name is Linnell Williams.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shawnette Sumner.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Asia Stovall.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Devonna Samuels.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all. Feel free. Whoever wants to start, go for it.
All right, I'll start. So I think we're here this evening to talk about a variety of topics, but as a woman, I always say that my first role of responsibility is that of a mother. I am a mother of 2 sons, and I would be in that category of what one would call single mother. My sons are grown now, however, I can honestly say that it was very, very challenging trying to work and parent all at the same time. Very, very challenging. But I did it. It's not easy. And I just try to encourage other mothers to just hang in there.
All right, good evening. Once again, my name is Devonna Samuels. I'm a paraeducator in the public education system. My husband and I, we have a Facebook page, Marriage Motivation with the Samuels. I'm very fortunate to have my husband with me, as I heard Ms. Sumner say that she is a single mother. So my girls are very fortunate to have both the mother and father in the household. I'm here today just to encourage and empower other women, because I believe that that's what we should do. We don't get enough of that today. So if we can just all reach out and help one another, I think we'll be doing so much more and make Bermuda even better.
I'm young, so I guess I could say I'm here to give a young perspective. I'm 22 years old. I am a single mother as well of 1 son. He's 3 years old. So it's nice. I want to be here to give advice maybe, and to also receive advice as well, since I am the youngest in the room. And to also, just let us young women be heard as well.
Good evening. So I'm Linnell, as I stated earlier. I am a single mother of 4 sons and a goddaughter. I was a single mother by choice, as I had my children overseas and decided to move back to the island to just be closer to family. It has not been easy at times, and there are things that I would change, such as not working so much, but it's a balance you have to try and work out, and there's no blueprint for it, it's no plan. You just kind of learn as you go, and do the best that you can with the tools that you have. So I'm here to share what I can, learn what I can, empower who I can, and that's part of what I do in my everyday life.
Let's start the discussion. I've shown you a printout of some of the things that we talk about, women's point of view about man. Man in the Men's Talk, I don't know if some of you watched, some of them had challenges with baby mama drama and et cetera. Any of these stories, feel free to jump in.
Well, I I believe it has a lot to do with where you are and what stage of life. So I grew up wanting to get married, have children, have the white picket fence and all of that. Even though that's not what I saw as a child, but I thought it was possible for me. And so I got married, then I had my first child, and it didn't work out because of infidelity, and I went through a phase of I just hate all men. I hate men. Never had the idea to dabble into a relationship with a female as a result. I just hated men because of what this one person did. And it took, that's when I felt like, okay, I'm raising a son now, but I had no intention of raising a son by myself, raising any child by myself. So I was really angry because it threw my whole life into a complete tailspin. It definitely wasn't what I wanted for myself. It took nine years before I actually met somebody else who I thought was Mr. Perfect. And after 2 years of dating and getting married and then having a second child, that was, and what's interesting is that his ex had tried to warn me. And of course I didn't listen. But, so now I have wound up with two sons, 11 years apart. So just as one was going off to university at 19 years old, I still had this 8-year-old, right? And so I just felt like my entire life was about raising children. One of the things, and some women, I'm going to say this, and it may hit hard to some women, but I think it needs to be said. There's a lot of women who are so, I guess, desperate for a relationship that they will latch on to any man that just shows them some sort of anything, buying them gifts or whatever the case may be. And your children see this, right? My sons never saw that. And so I wasn't interested in relationships and waking up in somebody else's bed and my son waking up to find somebody else in my bed. I took the child rearing very, very seriously, right? But sometimes I feel like I've lost out on a lot, and sometimes you hear parents in my situation say, oh, if I had to do it all over again, I would. I wouldn't, and that's not to say I don't love my sons. I'm very grateful for my sons, and I cannot imagine life without them. But absolutely not, because the men ride off into the sunset, and they become either part-time or non-existent. And the mother, for the most part, I know there's some great single fathers out there, but the mother, for the most part, is doing it all. And it's not fair. It's not fair.
Well, just listening to you talk, like I said earlier, my girls are very fortunate because they have both myself and my husband there. And I was very young when I had all three of my children, and married very young. I was 22. This year will be 26 years of marriage. Thank God for that. It hasn't been easy, but it surely has been worth it. But growing up, I'm not saying I came from a single parent because my dad was very much involved in my life, but I did live with my mom. I knew I didn't want that for any of my children. I knew I wanted more. I wanted them to have more. I didn't expect to become a teenage mom, but it happened. And, I made it. I'm very fortunate that my boyfriend, who is now my husband, stayed with me, stuck with me, and helped me, raise them and do the things that parents should do. So my girls have seen something different. I always tell them, Mommy broke that curse, because, coming from where I've come from, I was like, no, this is not going to happen. I wouldn't have children at all, or I'm going to make things different. And I made that choice to find someone who would love me for me and help me grow as well. And I'm still growing, 47, but I'm still growing. I'm still learning. So when she said she's 22, I was like, okay. My youngest is 24. But I can learn a lot from you as well. We can learn from each other. So, but hearing your story is like, wow, because we often hear the negative things about men. And sometimes we don't praise men enough because we do have a lot of good men out there, a lot of good fathers out there. Like I said, my dad was very much so involved in my life, although my mom and him were not married. I always say he was my best friend when he was, he's passed on now, but he was my best friend, and I was able to talk to him about anything. And he was very much so involved in my life as if him and my mom were together. He not once bad-mouthed my mom, and I always say I thank him for that. Although my brother and sister, they have a different father from me. I've heard different things, and they always said, "Oh, well, we was upset with you because your daddy was around." I was like, "But all daddies are around." But now, as I'm older, I see different. And working in the education system, I definitely see different. So, we do have those stories like what you was talking about, Shonette. But we also have some good men out there that we do need to highlight. I think we do not highlight them enough in Bermuda.
I agree.
We tend to bash men a lot, and I think we need to start highlighting those that are doing good.
I agree. Yep.
So I was previously married for 11 years, and I never told my children that they couldn't communicate with their dad. What I see, and growing up in a different type of culture from the Bermuda culture, but also some people are raised in a different culture where they see man as a provider, or where they see the man as the head of the household. And I find, if we're talking about women in general, I can't speak for every woman, but at some point, no matter how independent you are, you want a man to be able to come and provide. He might not be able to provide time, but he could fix a leaky sink. He could fix that running toilet. He could watch your child while you're at work because maybe he doesn't have a job. So maybe they have other things to provide, but at some point in your core, you feel that a man should be a provider. And I see that when I look on different things on Facebook and Instagram. No matter how independent the woman is, oh, I want a man to buy me something or give me something. And it all boils down to either time or things. And if you go according to like culture and you go into a gender-based society where men have roles and women have roles, so we do our part as a woman and take care of our man, and then he gives. So now I look around and I see, and it's kind of a quid pro quo type of situation. If I don't get this, I'm not going to do this for you. And where did we get to this standoff with man? Because now instead of trying to work together as a team, we feel like men are our competition. Instead of trying to be in a relationship, you want to be in some type of, well, I'm only going to do this if he does this. Whereas maybe you can encourage him to do it because what has he grown up seeing? What was he provided with? What type of example was put in front of him? Because when I came back to Bermuda 15, 16 years ago, I didn't have a man in my household. And to have to go outside and be like, oh, you think you could show my son how to do this? Getting somebody, and it might not be your man, but because people are so fearful of different things, and I'm not trying to take your man, or she might not be trying to take your man, but you just need that person to assist. I know of a Bermudian man. Oh, you want these children to play? He ran around with his van and took all these children and gave them something positive to do. So what are we looking at? Where are the examples? And where are the examples for the boys that are growing up to man so that we can be what we think we want? Are we raising our boys to be this man that women want? Because, I hate men every now and then. I get in my feelings. We get in our feelings. We have emotions. They might not like us too much sometimes either. But, we have to look at what's the culture? What are we looking for? What are we willing to give? What are we willing to provide? What are we willing to take? And how can we help? Because truth be told, looking at society now is a lot of gaps.
Yes.
There's a lot of gaps.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say they're intentional, but as society evolves or as society moves on, things happen and we're all scrambling, trying to make a dollar. So some things get lost.
Yep.
You're a single parent, you're out of the house. You know what I mean? You're leaving the children to make the decisions on their own sometimes. You run in, feed them, I'm going to go back work. So my point of view about men, and I'll just break it down like that. I'm very optimistic. I try and see the good in people. And I tell young ladies that I meet, are you having a baby with that boy? He don't have a job? Guess what? You have a job. Go work. Let him pick the child up from school. Why you got to pay for after school program? Allow him to do his part as a man, because we're not allowing these boys to be men. We're not allowing them to do their part. So allow them, and then you might see the positive changes. They might not be perfect. We're not perfect.
No one's perfect.
But if we allow them, because there's certain things that men need to feel like men.
Yes, of course.
You know, and we have to allow them to do that. But I'm not saying let them abuse us.
That man, girl.
I'm not saying you're not going to have moments where you're not in your feeling, but allow them to be a man. Allow them to do those things, because it's in their nature for us to want them, for them to provide, and it's in our nature for us to want them to provide. So let them provide what they can.
I think when you look at, I think both of you touched on like the value of man. So for instance, when my boys were growing up, I never let them go to like summer day camp. I would seek out male friends who would take them for a week or two here and there. And I remember one of my oldest son, one of his best memories was a well-known fisherman in Bermuda, and my son loved to fish. So he would actually take him to work with him. You know, he loved to build with Lego. So when he was of age to get out and like work shadow, I let him go with an architect, you know. I think when we look at the value that some men do bring, because all men are not bad seeds, right? And sometimes we just have to look for somebody who can be that real model, even if it's temporary. You know, and I was very fortunate because, you know, and I did say earlier that I didn't see good things in my household as a child, but my mother, thankfully, she married again when I was about 9 or 10 years old. Anyway, they've just celebrated their they're getting ready to come up to their 51st wedding anniversary. And my dad was a great role model, you know, for my son, my brother-in-law, you know, just people in the family. You have to utilize their services, so especially for your boys.
Asia.
I could say I grew up, I definitely wanted to get married. I love this movie called Bride Wars. That's like my favorite movie. So I guess I could say I was a little angry with myself. I got pregnant at 19 and had my son at 19. And I want to say I was very angry with myself because I wanted this life where I wanted to be married with my child. And I wasn't. I was a single parent. And I guess also being angry that his dating could be, I wouldn't even say part-time, I say very casual. Like, you know, he could be casual. Why do I have to be the full-time parent? And, you know, my mama always tells me, you know, you have a son now, you can't, he's going to have no father or mother because you just don't. And it's not that I didn't want to do it. So she got very angry, and being young as well is is a lot to take on. And I think when I got pregnant, I wasn't thinking of the future. I was like, I'm gonna have a baby, but when the baby came, it's like, oh, I've got a baby and a life to take care of. But it was just like, and it's like, without a support system, I don't know how people do it. And even though his daddy isn't in his life like that, it's still, you know, I have enough people that help. And, you know, as much as I do want his daddy around, it's like, you can't force him either. So it's like, I don't talk bad about him. It just is what it is. But I just had to learn that I can't keep being angry at his daddy. And it's kind of like you said as well, what did you grow up seeing? And I know his daddy's background, and I'm not saying it's very good, but I understand why he is the way he is. And I am not your mama, so I can't teach you to be this person that I want you to be. So it was just me having to grow up as well and to be mature more and into thinking and not just hating.
I'm going to challenge Ms. Sumner, because you made a statement earlier, and what I pick up is that we all look for love. Sometimes we find the wrong person, and then we have to deal with the consequences.
Yes, absolutely.
So is it that wrong to be looking for love? Because we are.
Oh, absolutely not.
Beings, that's what we are.
Yes.
So we look to be needed.
Absolutely. And if you look at, well, I don't know if anybody's familiar with what we call the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, that's one of the basic. And if people says, oh, I don't need anybody to love me, then they're not going to exist very well in the world. Everybody needs love. But I think also people have to learn how to love themselves, right? And if you don't know what that looks like or feels like because you've probably not seen good examples of it, chances are you're not going to do a really good job at that either. And so you start looking for love, as they say, in all the wrong places, right? So I think everybody wants to be. And I think it's easy for, speaking from a female perspective, it's real easy to just take on the words and the gifts that a man will give, even if it's for a moment, and then it may lead to something else, and before you know it, you're caught up in something where it's just like, oh my goodness, how did I get to this? From a simple hello, you look nice today, something like that. But it requires a lot of strength, because you just can't succumb to every nice word as a female. And we all like them. We like nice words. We like, we want to be complimented.
Yes.
But again, you have to learn how to even compliment yourself and not fall for this. So, yeah.
You said it right when you said you have to learn to love yourself first. So it took me a long time, because although I had my boyfriend who is now my husband, and I was very young, I was like 13, 14 when I met him, and we're like still together. We're growing together. I've got gray hair now. Wisdom highlights. But when I started loving myself, I started loving him even more. So the love we have now is completely different. I mean, it's undescribable. Right. I love him more now than I've always loved him, but now, once finding who I am and telling my truth and my story, I'm able to love him even more. He was there for me, and he always, like he says, I'm always loving you, and I'll always love you no matter what, whether we remain together or whatnot. I was 17 when I was pregnant, 18 when I had my first child, and he stuck right there. And he took me, and his family took me into their home. I was 16. So, but he made sure I finished school, and he did all of those things, and he's only 2 years older than me. So, even sometimes we talk about age, we may say the older ones, sometimes it's the younger ones, but then I look at his example. His father is amazing. His mom, when she was here, she was absolutely amazing. So he had a good upbringing, so he knew what should be expected. He knew what I was going through, and he said, "You're not going through that anymore. I'm going to take care of you." And I was like, "Oh, like you don't work."
But I think you have
little, you're still young.
Right.
You can do. But he's like, "No, you're good." And I would sleep on the couch, and you can have my room. I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay, all right." But he's been there every step of the way, and it's even made my relationship with my mom stronger. So the relationship that people probably have with their moms as they're coming up, I did not have that. Although I was there, my mom was there for me, and I just believe she did the best she could with the knowledge she had. And I knew I didn't want to be that mother to my children. I have 3 girls, so I want them to see a strong woman, and even my girls, they look at the father and they say, "Oh, Daddy, isn't that man out there like you?" Because they see what he does, And so they're always saying, "Oh gosh, I'm never going to find." I said, "Remember, who is for you is going to be for you. You're not going to find your daddy in somebody else." But because of the example he's showing and how he takes care of the household and whatnot, we believe is God, the husband, the wife, and the children. And that's just how we work it out. And, I think it works for us.
I think what you have, though, is what you're describing, I think is awesome. But I think it's not what we would consider the norm in 2024. Well, probably within the last maybe 30 years. It's not the norm.
Absolutely right, yeah.
And what you have is what a lot of people are striving for or yearning for, right? Now, see, I always tell people, like, my daddy is the best daddy on the face of the earth. This is, I don't ever refer to him as my stepfather. He's never treated me like I wasn't his own flesh and blood, right? So it's like, gosh, if I can find somebody like him. But it's the fathers who set the standard.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when you look at a lot of these young girls coming up, and some of the things they're dabbling in when it comes to, if the young boys, it's just like, I'm asking myself, where are their fathers? But then, like Linnell said, do the fathers know any better?
Right.
Right? So
Right.
it's just like this cycle that just
And it
goes
keeps
on and
going.
on and
Yeah.
on. So I think if we can all find somebody or a couple or somebody who's doing it right, so to speak, and use that as a model to help us through life for ourselves as well as our children, I think that will help to make society a better place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm intrigued by what I'm hearing, so this is beautiful. In Men's Talk, I'm going to use an example. In Men's Talk, we, as man, accepted that we dropped the ball as being fathers, as being there for our children. So I want to apologize on behalf of man, because we left it up to women to do what we should have done. But you made a good point. A lot of us don't get a chance to be that man because of failed relationship and hurts. With that said, how do we fix the challenges that women have with your husband, your children's father, or that companion?
Well, one thing I would say to women, avoid the courts. Avoid the courts.
Say it out loud.
Avoid the courts. And I don't mind sharing my personal, like, I was one of those people, I had heard millions of stories about people going through the courts to try to solve relationships with parents. And I was like, I will never do that. The first time I did it, it was long and tedious. It worked out in my favor, but I was exhausted. And I was like, I will never do this again. It's almost even humiliating because they're writing all this your personal business down, and then they got to go away and make a decision. And I was like, this is the first and last time I'm ever doing this, right? But then I decided I would do it a second time. And when I tell you, like, I'm actually still angry about it. And it's been, 5 years or so since the decision was made. You want your children to have the best. I have put my son through university, and most people who know me really, really well will tell you they don't know me to do anything but work. Just work. I've always had 3 or 4 jobs at a time just working, right? And I put my son through school, and I got to the point where it was just like, wait a minute. After I put all the documentation together to go to the court, it was a file this thick, every receipt from school fees, internet bill, rent, books, everything, it came to approximately $52,000, right? $52,000. And if he had given, I don't know, maybe $7,000, $8,000, that was it. But I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to the court. Here's all my documentation. So it would make sense that if I'm just asking for half in return, it's a simple fix, right? You order him to pay half. Well, after a long, again, tedious, I'm showing up, he didn't show up, they'll give him another chance, he didn't show up, this went on and on and on. Final decision was made by the judge that he was going to give me $9,900 out of the $52,000. Take out the 8 or 9 he may have given along the way, but that was the court order. And when I asked the judge why, because it was going through COVID and it was done through WebEx or Zoom, one of them. And when I asked the judge to please explain to me how you got to this figure, the response was, Ms. Sumner, that's my decision, and that's it. Click, Zoom, finished. And when I will never go back to a court for anything. Well, my children are grown now, right? But if this is what we have to go through, I'm out of pocket. I'm out of pocket and paying for this still, you know what I mean, for my son who's graduated now, got a good job and what have you, and helps where he can. But I just would honestly urge people, stay out of the courts, because these are people who, chances are they're making a decision where they're not in that position themselves, number one, right? They don't know what the struggle is about. And yeah, it's a snapshot. Exactly, it's a snapshot. You're hearing somebody's story, and you have to make a decision on this without a clue what this mother or father, in some cases, is going through. I would advise people not to do, because it can leave you more angry and frustrated than when you started.
Right.
Yeah. I spoke to a lawyer about 2 months ago about it, just casual, and they were like, no, you should really open this up because it's not fair. I'm not going on that road again. I just hope that, the person who made that decision, they have to live with it, not me. But it was wrong. Very wrong.
So I've never been through it, but I've seen people go through it, and just my own personal decision. My children's father was not in a position to assist me financially, and I know that. So in my mind, I felt like, why would I take him to court to try and get some money when I know he doesn't have any?
Yes,
And-
that's different.
And also, I'm like, so I'll just be frustrating myself, frustrating him, causing a whole lot of bad blood. So I did what I needed to do. I worked 3 jobs, maybe 4, I'm not even quite sure, 3.5, something like that. And I did what I had to do to provide for my children. And even to the point where one day a parent came to my house crying on the door because my son was at our house and said that, oh, your son called my son poor, whatever. And I was like, I called him and I said, listen, we are on financial assistance. We barely have any groceries. We're poor. No, we're not. We're not poor. And at that point, I was smiling inside because I knew at that time that I did what I needed to do to at least my children did not feel like they were lacking. You know what I mean? So that's just my advice. And I can't tell any woman what to do with their body. You get pregnant, you decide to have the child. You have the child with the person that you decided to have it with. And if he doesn't have any money before you got pregnant, and if he doesn't provide before you get pregnant, what do you think is going to change?
Exactly.
Yes, we want them to step up. Yes, we want them to be responsible. Every man is not like that. A lot of men are not like that. And we think that if we force them to go to the court, they're going to hate you. They're going to resent the child. And then you don't want him to see the children because he's not giving you what you want and y'all got to go court. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting your children. The man is just going to go out and you could talk about him on Facebook. You could badmouth him to your friends. And you can post all types of whatever. You could drive by his house. You can take screenshots of him traveling with the next girlfriend. And he's got money to do this. He's got money to buy a car. And I'm sitting here struggling. And I'm eating ramen for dinner. None of that's going to change. You have to change your mindset. Make yourself better. Because it's not easy. It's hard. You're going to cry. You're going to have to drive and sit by the beach or do whatever. But you cannot force anybody, man or woman, to do something that they're not inclined to do. And you can be doing it for yourself for 5 years, and then you're 6, when that man says, you know what, I have a child. I want to be responsible. I want to help you. And because we're hurt and because we're pissed off, we're going what? Oh, I don't need your help. No, I can do this. No. And that's where we have to change the mindset, and we have to change the culture of how we do things. Because if we keep perpetuating this hurt, if we keep pushing the anger and the resentment, we will never get anywhere. We will continue to see what we're seeing. And that's just my view. I feel like you cannot get blood from a stone. If he didn't have it before you got pregnant, unless he steps up and does it, and then even if he steps up and he still don't have money, he's got time. Don't call in sick when you got a man right there that can stay home with that baby and you know you're not getting paid sick time. It might hurt you to leave the child. You might be like, oh, why can't, but let him have the child. I don't care if you're arguing. Let him watch the child. The child almost always loves the daddy. Unless we start talking all this nonsense. And that's one thing I didn't do. I tried not to talk negative about my children's daddy. We moved back to Bermuda. I made sure we had internet. I always made sure the internet was on no matter what I had to do so that they can talk to him. Because I wasn't going to interfere with that no matter what our relationship was. That's his children. And we need to try and give our children that opportunity. Because just because we see it, they don't see that. They don't see that their daddy's deadbeat. They don't see that. They see their daddy. They're happy to see him. And y'all may why they're happy. Let our children have the opportunity to have something better than what we had. Don't let them feed, or they're gonna feel our hurt anyway, but encourage them to do better. Encourage them to, because when the daddy is ready to step up, just like you have a child that's errant and doing what they want to do, you're still their mother. When they're ready to step up and do what they're supposed to do, they need to know that the mother is there for them. Because nobody else is going to be there. Once the mama cuts the child off, society looks, oh, the mama don't want to have nothing for him? Oh, well, I'm done. And we see too much of that. Too much.
Okay, I'm Jody Eve. I wasn't going to say anything, but I had to on this topic. So my viewpoint on man court child support. I am one of three. My mama raised 3 girls all by herself. She was married, she got divorced. My father left Bermuda. She had my daddy in court. I watched that bill go up. He would come home, he would get locked up. You get locked up and you pay your arrears. So if he has 20 grand in arrears, that gets paid. But what happens while he's in jail? You're still incurring. So you never catch up.
Exactly.
And I was like,
Exactly.
whatever. So basically, my mama did it without any money. I watched her sacrifice, make ends meet, and she never told me and my sisters no. It may have been not today, but it was never new. How she did it, my mama always believed that wasn't our problem. She is the adult, we are the children, and when we get older, we have to figure it out. Right now, it's mama's job to figure it out. We never went without. I watched my mama get made redundant. 2 of us was away in university. Nobody came home. How she did it, I don't know. I do, grace of God, but it worked out. I am a single mother of 2 adult children. Did I ever want to be a single mother? No. But this is how I see it. I say it sometimes and people don't agree with it, but it is what it is. You get pregnant, you decide if you're having that child as a woman. No, you didn't make it by yourself, but you still made that decision. And I tell young people, I tell women all the time, guess what? You could be with that man 10 years. 10 years and a day, he's out, you know. You're stuck with that child. The court, the police, whoever comes looking, they're coming looking for the mamas. They ain't checking the daddy, daddy ain't care who you are. So you have 9 months to get in your head that I may have to take care of this child by myself, whether you want to or not. People say postpartum is real, whatever. For me, I think it's a little trash. You have 9 months to be pregnant and sort it out for that baby to come. Work it out. So the whole child support system, no, like Linnell said, you do what you gotta do to make sure your children eat, to make sure they got clothes on your back. These struggles, they ain't your children's. It's none of their business. They don't need to know. They don't need to know why mama, listen, I love tea. Anybody could tell you. As long as I'm got a cup of tea, I'm straight. I can have tea and toast. My children's got steak, macaroni and cheese, and vegetables. Mama, how come you don't want this? Oh no, mama's cool. And I was cool. But guess what? I made sure that my last $20, because back in the day, $20 could buy you steak, macaroni, and broccoli. I knew that I got food for 2 nights. I'll figure out the third night, when the third night comes. So I say all that to say is that as women, we have to do what we have to do. Not making excuses that a man's not doing it. But are we gonna sit here all day and complain or call him up 20 times a day to figure out why he's not doing this? All that extra exerted energy that we're giving to these men and trying to figure out how they're not, we're taking away that quality time that we could be giving to our children. So which one is it? But again, you don't let them be without, because some men don't do. But like Linnell said, they may have time. I have a daughter and a son. I would never sit here and say I'm mama and daddy, because I'm not. Because I knew that I couldn't give my son that thing. I can't tell you what that thing is, you know, but it's that thing that only a man can give to their son especially. So my son's daddy did, his mama did on his behalf, because we still have a lot of mamas that baby their kids. It is what it is. But my son loved his father. I never kept my kids from their children, from their father. I'll never do that, because life goes on. And are we perfect? Because we're making mistakes, you know, as we're doing this thing called motherhood, parenthood, because it don't come with a handbook. Because I go back and I'm like, geez, I wish I could have made a different decision. But I made it. So what makes me making an irrational decision or a not so good decision any better than him not giving me $50 a week for a child?
But Jody, I just want to interject, because I've actually heard a couple of you say this tonight about bad-mouthing the father. And I think most mothers, I wouldn't necessarily say bad-mouthing, but I think at some point, we have to get to a point, and I don't know if it's different with girls, boys, or whatever, where you need to explain to them what's going on in a language they can understand. Now, some people may call it bashing or bad-mouthing or whatever the case may be, but I know I had to do it, because there comes a time, I think, in a child's life when they're asking the questions like, where is my daddy? Why isn't he coming around? I'm not going to make excuses. Absolutely not. And I think one of the most pitiful things is that, I mean, forget the child support if they're not paying that. But then if they have the time and still don't give the time because they're angry with the mother, like they don't see the full picture in terms of, listen, deal with your child. But I also feel, and this is again through personal experience, that there are times that you absolutely must not let your child go with the father. Alcoholism, you show up at my door sober, staggering. No, you're not. So you can go tell the court, yes, she kept them away from me, because I'll tell them myself. But I think when they're in a condition where you're worried about or have reason to be concerned about your child's safety, I think that's a reason, and you should not, absolutely. Regardless, even if the child's kicking and screaming, I don't want to go, right? Now, mind you, my sons never did that, but you have to, because you become the disciplinarian. You're the one on the one hand praising them and patting their back and telling them how good. Then you gotta tell them off. You gotta cut their behind. And you just become this be all and end all. And then it's like you do get to a point of frustration where it's like, okay, Daddy says I'll be here at 5 o'clock. Well, 5 o'clock has come, 6, 7, and 8, and it becomes the norm. I mean, you suck it in and hold it in and don't say anything to the child, but maybe he got caught up at work. No, sometimes you have to tell them the truth. And they do find out when they get older. They absolutely figure it out, because just like Linnell said, if they don't have the money from the beginning, they're not likely to have it. If they ain't got the time in the beginning, they're not likely to come up with it anyway. And one of the frustrating things, I would say, even for me as a mother, but it's painful to see your child go through that. You're not with your child's father, and that's fine, but he's not spending time with the child, but he's moved on with another woman. And another woman sometimes that has a child or two. And they're living with her, and it's like, well, what about your child? Like, does he not stop to think about how your child feeling? Mind you, there are some women who are feeling like, I'm going to make his life miserable and shred him to bits until he's back with me, right? But get over it. If the relationship's over, get over it. But at the same time, don't neglect your children and start up a whole new relationship with somebody while you're not taking care of the child over here. This is your first responsibility. So that's when I start blaming. I do blame women who get involved in these relationships with men that have other children, and for whatever reason, help him to find a way. Help him to find a way to nurture a relationship with his child. And that, to me, is the epitome of a strong woman who decides to move on with a man that already has children, right?
Well, I find sometimes that you might have a female that meets a guy that has children, and you're like, well, why are you not dealing with your children? You want to help him nurture that relationship. But then the mother, I don't want my child around her. I don't want this, and you make both of their lives uncomfortable, and then it goes either way. Either he leaves you because she's making his life hell because he wants to bring his child around, but she don't want you to, or he's being deceptive because he can only see his child without you. And then, so we as women put these hard decisions on men. And I'm not saying that it's okay, but I see it a whole lot. Men are not faithful. Men have children, her, and her. Or men get in relationships with women that have children. Or when they move on, the woman is still so hurt by whatever happened before them, because I believe that different people bring out different things, just like everybody can wear the same oil because it smells different on you. People bring out different things in people. So just because we were toxic together doesn't mean that he's going to be toxic with Asia, because Asia might bring out that provider. She might be just soft enough, or she might be just that little bit of whatever it is that he needs that brings out the best in him. And instead of me resenting it, I need to say, well, you know what, it's working better for my child. Let me allow her to be an example to my child, or let me allow her, because as long as she's not mistreated my child, it's going to hurt the heck out of me. But I'm going to have to let my child go, because otherwise they're not going to have a relationship with their dad, or it's just going to cause more havoc. And I've seen it, like my stepdad, when he married my mom, me and my sister, my mom had 5 more children. But you couldn't say that we weren't his children.
Right.
At all. And even with my children, you can't say that those are not his grandchildren.
Right.
Like, we are a family. That is my dad. I can call him for anything. When I had an issue with my son, I called him and he stepped in and dealt with it. So if we allow people to do those things and allow people to move on, and he has other children, and they get along with my sisters, and everybody gets along, it's not going to be peaches and cream all the time. People fight. Families fight, right? We hate each other, and then we love each other. That's what we do. We love on each other. We need to learn how to love on each other more. Because as women, we need to stand together more. We're so busy hating. Let's love each other. Let me see. You put on makeup nice. Show me how to do that, because I can only throw on some lipstick, some lip gloss, and that's it. You know, let's learn from each other. No, we're not going to like everything. And I know I'm hard to get along with sometimes. And I say things that I probably shouldn't say. And I know I'm a hard person to love at times, because I'm very independent, because I've had to be, because I'm a single mother, and I have boys that have been challenges. You know, I'm the one that I'm going to take a bag of potatoes, and you're going to have mashed potatoes one night, french fries another night, scalloped potatoes another night. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to make it, you're going to feel like y'all at a gourmet restaurant. I cook 3 meals every day. You have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you went to school. But I also had to go to the supermarket. I have 4 children. Okay, so I got 4 apples. I didn't get one unless I cut them, and then I took like a slice from everybody's apple. I was slim. You know, I make a little bit more money now, so I can eat every now and then. No, and you're laughing, but it's true. I used to be at work, and somebody would buy me lunch, and I'm like, oh my God, I could split that. I would put that to the side. I would take it home, add a salad dressing, and that's my children's dinner. So we have made so many sacrifices, and we as women need to do better at getting along. Don't hate her because she got her flowers first on Valentine's Day, and you're looking all side-eye. But he still sent you flowers. You got yours at 3. I got mine at 9. So what? We both got them. You know what I mean? We have to get along, because that's the main problem. If we got along, and I'm not saying we should just accept, oh, our man has 3 other women over here. I'm not saying accept that, because if that's not for you, that's not for you. There are cultures where you have that. But I'm saying, if we got along better, you know our man would get along better? If we said, you know what, y'all got 3 children, talk to your children's mamas. Let's see how we can get the children together, because they are related. They are blood. They shouldn't hate each other. Because I don't like you. So, no, I grew up with my daddy going to jail for not paying child support for my sibling. And I hated my sibling's mama until I was grown, and I came back and I understood how the process went. And when that woman died, she called me her daughter. When she had a problem, she called me first. When my sister was in trouble, I went to my sister. So we have to get along as women. And I guarantee you we will see a change with the man. We will see the children respond differently. It doesn't happen overnight, because we didn't get in this position overnight. If you look back at the grandparents and the great-grandparents, yeah, look at children over here, you find out, somebody, who is that? Oh, those are my brothers and sisters, and you find out at the funeral. It happens. You know what I mean? So we have to, our society right now is going through so much turmoil that we have so much hate. We have to love, and we are the nurturers. Women are the nurturers. Yeah. We are responsible. We had that baby for 9 months. And however we are as we heal, and I found that out on my 3rd child. So it took me a minute. I didn't have it from the beginning. But how you are when you're pregnant is how that child comes out. And I found that I was so angry so angry, and my son came out screaming, and he was the at 2 years old, I want that, and he took it. You know what I'm saying? And I had to soothe that and soothe it and soothe it. They call it Mother Nature, grows everything. We grow these children. We grow these men. When these men have a hard day, they don't want to hear us nagging. Sometimes we have to hold it. Don't hold it forever, because then it's going to draw your card. But sometimes you have to hold it and just say, let this man come and let him have some peace. Because if he don't find it with you, he's going to have another woman that's giving him some peace. You understand me? He's going to find another woman that's going to give him some peace. And I'm not saying you can't just take everything, but you have to find the space to be able to express it. That's just my opinion. I have a lot of opinions, but I'm going to let
It's just like, listen, around the table. Look at Asia. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. She's gonna be all right. Yeah, she's gonna be all right.
I guess we could go back to the child support. My mom always told me, don't do it, don't make sense. I was like, I'm not listening to you. I'm doing what I have to do. What I thought was right. And I went there, I got the papers, and I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, I'm going to fill all this crap out. You need this, you did this, where he lives, his birth certificate, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should have just left it alone. Because it's just like, like you said, at the end of the day, out of $52,000, he was only, quoted $9,900? Like, literally, what did I waste my time for?
Exactly.
So a lot of people kept saying it. Damn, people would kind of, I guess I could say belittle me, because I wouldn't take them to court. You're stupid. And I'm just sitting here like, well, what difference is it going to make? I'm going to wait for a court date. I'm going to go to court. What if he didn't show up? Then we're going to reset the court date. Yep. And I'm like, all that time that I could be spending for my child or making money. So it's just like, I had to, again, mature in certain areas, because I'm like, you cannot force a man to take care of his children or a child. It is what it is. And I'm still growing from that. And my mama could tell you, I went through like a really dark place where I'm like, okay, what the heck? And it's not even that he didn't have the money, he had it, which makes it worse. Makes you more angry, because I'm like, I know you got the money, but you just decided not to do it. And I'm like, wow. So you want to go on bitter to the next person because, how you're feeling just having a baby, her doing whatever, and I'm stuck, taking care of my child. But at the end of the day, the child needs the mama anyway. They need the father too, but if you're both absent, then the child's just gonna, not gonna, it's gonna fall through the cracks.
I want to ask a question. As you heard a lot in society, especially with mothers and boys, when do you take your sons off of the breast milk?
Well, I can tell you, both of my sons who are now grown, they used to always accuse me of taking everybody else's side except theirs. You know your children, you know them. I've never, ever been one of those not my child, not my son mamas. And it drives me nuts. I worked in the prison for 10 years, and there's a lot of them out there whose mamas did just that. Not all of them, but had the mamas stepped back and not been that way with them, they may not have ended up there. It's like, my son, not my son. Well, what did your son do to cause my son to do X, Y, and Z? But it's, I know way too many of them, way too many males who are still clutching to mama. And I don't know if it's that mama don't want to let go for her own security, maybe, and then when they get to a certain age, you're telling them he's the man of the house. If he's not paying the rent, the electricity, and all of that, and he's not the man of the house, what are you telling him? Because the way he's acting under your roof is how he's going to go and act under somebody else's roof, right? So, I don't know. I can only speak for me. For me, it was cut early, very early. And even to this day, as grown men, I have no problem telling them when they're wrong, but I also compliment the things that they're doing well, because just like us, they want to know that they're doing some things right as well. Generally, men don't do that with other men.
Yeah.
We, as women, we can compliment each other and say nice things, but men call it something else when they do it, right? And I think they should. But yeah, so I don't know. That's what it was like for me. I don't know, because you have daughters, you said, right?
Girls. All girls.
Yeah.
I have a daughter and a son, and I think we could love them, but make them independent and hardened to an extent. My son is very nonchalant in a good way, but very loving and protective as well. My son used to run, play football, the whole 9 yards, and I used to get sidelined from the sideline because my son fall down on the ground. I'd be like, yo, get up. He stood on there. You had your 2 seconds of fame. Get up. This is a man's sport. If you don't want to play, I tell the coach, take him off the field. Because that's how I felt. I'm not babying you because
Right.
you fell down. You fell down. If you're that hurt, make it. Let somebody else play. Or get up and keep going. I just think you have to find that balance. But to keep them, boys need love. Because I think that's, I know we're not there, but that's the problem with these men today. That's why they're getting in trouble. All they want is somebody to love them. That's it. Hi, how are you? Have a good day. So yes, I still give my son a kiss on his face. He goes 25 years old. But he knows respect. If he came in this room, he knows some. He would greet you by name. He'll give you a hug. If he don't know you, I'm going to introduce him. And guarantee you by the end of the night, if he bounces early, he's saying good night, and he's going to come and he's going to hug every last woman in this room. Because that's how I raised him. He's not a punk. His well balanced. But I think it's important to allow them to grow. He's been independent. He's been out of Bermuda for a long time. I say often, I could put my son in the middle of 10,000 people with $2, and he's missing for 12 hours during the day. He's going to come back. He's ate every meal. He's going to tell me his met people. He don't know your name, but he could tell me any and everything about you, and he'll survive. Now, if I do that with my daughter, she's going to cry. She's going to look for her mama. She's not going to eat. She's probably got money, but she's distraught and not going to eat. But that's who they are, 2 different individuals. So I think it's important that we allow our boys to be boys and become men. Even with that, I'm one of 3 girls. My 3 sisters and I, we had 6 children, 5 girls. My son was the only boy.
Oh, wow.
So when my son came around, my poor mama had a stroke. Oh my God, it's dirty. Let him be dirty. But look at, that's new clothes. Ain't gonna fit him, not sure any of it. Roll around in the dirt. Be a boy. People tell me, oh, you gotta be careful with him. All these girls is gonna be a sissy. Far from it. Let him be a man. Let him get dirty. Let him eat dirt. Let him not want to get a bath. That's what they do. And then they grow up and they want to get a bath all day, every day because they love the girl. So that's how you strike that balance. You just have to allow them to be. And it's hard. I never knew what it was like to raise a boy. We ain't got none around her. But trial and error. And because I think also we use that stigma as a woman can't raise a boy or a man. That's BS. Because we could say that about women can't raise a girl. Because we didn't know how to do it. We still don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
We just do it. Because unless you all have a handbook, I never had one. But to my knowledge, we just work this thing out. We try things. And what works for me ain't gonna work for her. And I know what works for one of her daughters ain't working for the other 2. So we just have to work it out.
Yep.
Boy, mom.
Hey, well, looking
All
at me.
sons.
Yeah, I have all. And
Wow.
even for all the similarities, they're different because, and all 4. I'll have one. So I'll just take food, for example. I have one. So everybody's hungry. One's going to sit there and just have a cigarette. The other one's going to wait till I come home. It could be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. What's for dinner? Then you got one that's going to order food out. And then you you got the other one that's going to go in there and you're going to think you're eating at Ascot's or somewhere. And I'm like, well, why didn't they didn't ask if they didn't tell me they wanted some. but that's how it is. One would just like not eat, and that's how they go on. But they're all different, and I just have to acknowledge who they are and how they are, and I have to feel them as they go. Because I definitely have boys. They're fighting, they're playing sports, they're doing all types of stuff. Some of it I don't agree with. And even when I don't agree, I still love my children. Yes. Mm-hmm. Because I had them, I made the decision to have them. I had my first child at 15. I got married at 20 and had the rest. But I made the decision to deal with whatever it is. I don't feel like that's nobody else's responsibility. Mm-hmm. Maybe that makes me a little bit hard. Maybe that makes me a little bit standoffish. I know I've been told. I've been broken up with, oh, you don't need me for nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. Then oh, you're too needy. I'm like, I don't even know how to feel. I don't even know how to be. I don't even know how to date. I'm just like, I'm a very nice person. But with my children, they're my children. Oh, you do too much for your children. I can't talk to you. I'm the mama that on Mother's Day, no, I get up early in the morning and I'm cooking breakfast. We call it special breakfast where I'm from, so it's like the tofu, the broccoli, the cereal, the everything. And when they wake up in the morning, it's all this food. That's what makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. But my children are different. With one child where I can take them and be like, listen, da-da-da-da-da. The other child, I just have to let him fall. Let him skin his knees. Let him almost die before he's like, oh, maybe I need some advice. Mm-hmm. And it hurts. It hurts to leave them because I have to tell them, listen, I wouldn't want to go out with somebody like you. And I tell them that. The girlfriends come to me and I'm like, listen, what you doing? Why are you doing your girlfriend like that? And you're I don't know who this girl, why is she here? Don't you have a girl? I have to do all those things because I tried my best to provide to society some children that are, assets to society. I did my best. Mm-hmm. And with people have flaws or whatever, but one thing I can say, my children are respectful. And I had one son tell me, well, who else I'm going to act like this with? If I go out the house and act like that, then it's going to be a problem. And I had to think about it. Okay, so he's letting loose on me. But because people say, oh, I saw your son, his son. I'm like, my son? I'm like, wait, your show was my child? He's like, yes, he looks, I'm like, okay, thank you. And I'm getting him, I'm like, I got a compliment about you today. I was like, okay, thank you very much. So it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good when they come back to me and say, oh, so we got this from my daddy and we got this from you. I'm like, yeah, because they see how hard I work. They might not acknowledge it all the time, but then when I get a card and it says all the right things, and I'm like, they were paying attention. Mm-hmm. When I had a birthday, when I went 50, and they made a song for me. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of the song was a prayer that I always say, if any of them's in trouble, if any of them's having a hard time, whatever's going on, is this one prayer I go to. And I'll say it's Psalms 23, but they say it in Hebrew, right? And at the beginning of the song that they made for me, they had that prayer. I'm like, they pay attention. Mm-hmm. So you have those members where like, oh, they actually listen. Yep. Because you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God. And you're rocking, and all you could do is pray. Mm-hmm. You heard sirens, and all you can do is pray. The minute I heard the accident, I'm calling everybody's phone. Mm-hmm. I'm like, just call me. Just answer your phone. You don't have to want to talk to me. Just respond so I know you're okay. Mm-hmm. Every time you hear a gun go off, you're rocking. Oh my God, where's my child? I hope he's not involved in any type of way. You're rocking. I don't know of any mother that has a son that does not feel fear in this day and time.
You got that
right.
I
feel fear. Every time an incident happens, I feel fear because I don't know if my son is a suspect. I don't know if my son is a victim. I don't know if my son is a witness. And it's real. And like she says, not my son. I guess I'm so extreme to my children get upset with me all the time. I'm like, you're guilty until proven innocent. I'm like, where were you? Where were you? Yep. Were you up, Audrey? What are you talking about? Yep. What are you? Just answer me. You know what I'm saying? And I know I'm hard because I know what I've witnessed. I know what I've been through. I know what I've sacrificed.
Yeah.
I know I've sacrificed so much, and I'm not the only person.
Yeah.
I'm not the only person, but the fear.
Yeah.
The fear of a son.
Yes.
And It's not just my children. I try and help. I'm always doing something for somebody's child. And I'm like, I don't have any money. Little boys is auntie. And I'm like, why they coming up to me? All these people walking around, they come to me. And I'm like, what is it about my face that makes people want to come to me and ask for help? And I can't say no. I try. And then I feel guilty. Like I said, I can't help you. And then I feel guilty and I turn around. I'm like, here, take this $5. You know, get something. Oh, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like. I'm watched it. I'm watched my children evolve. And I have a son, and he did a program, and when he finished it, I was like, how do you feel? I said, you completed. Like, people wouldn't realize you completed the program. And we have to encourage them. This is one step. You finished it, so if you finish, you can go to the next step. So every time he completes something, I let him go on. When my eldest son got his GED, he was like, he said, how you feel? He said, I know you wanted me to get my GED. I cried. A high school diploma, I'm like, you would have thought he got a doctorate. But I was so excited that he got a GED. Because it means that you stuck to something.
But you know, and like Linnell said, and you just really brought it in for me, because I tell people all the time, if you are a mother of a son in Bermuda and you're sleeping real comfortable at night when your son is out, something's wrong. I don't, and I just think, I mean, it could be, I don't know if it's worldwide or whatever, right? But it's like it doesn't matter where your son fits in the community. It's because of all the things that are going on, and you worry. Like, my son doesn't live with me anymore because, you know, he's got his own apartment and what have you. But I remember I would toss and turn until I actually heard him come in the door. He never knew I was awake, right? He's probably, if he's watching this, he's going to learn it probably for the first time. Because he would be easy and think, oh, I'm sound asleep. But I didn't sleep until I knew he was in the door. And even with Linnell, you know, social media, WhatsApp messages, oh, something's happening, and is he home yet? And I'm messaging, just let me know that you're okay. It's a very uncomfortable feeling when your children are out. I don't know what it's like for girls, but I just know that for a boy, a male child, you just don't get that good sleep until they walk in the door. And then by the time you fall into that deep sleep, your alarm is going to go off soon after to get back up for work and do it all over again, right?
When you say that, like I said, I have old nieces. So one day it was a conversation my sisters and I was like, you like can't talk to me. Like, we can't have these same conversations because you don't know what it's like to raise a boy. And I have people that say, oh, your son's a good child. Yeah, he is. How many good? But really, what's a good child? But anyway, how many are gone that wasn't involved in anything? My son was out of Bermuda majority of the time, but he come home, the same thing. I think people know where I work, but we leave that right there. But I could be at work, and it could be an accident, and I know my son's going football training or go somewhere, and I message him. Where
are you?
What?
Yes.
Where you at? And it'd be like, huh? Are you safe? Yes. What's wrong with you? All right, cool. Check it later. What happened? Nothing. But Mama, you asked me nothing. I just need to know. I have a family group chat. My sisters, my nieces. I tell them when I put a message in her and say, yo, let me know everybody's good. I need to know everybody's good because there's nothing worse than you're stuck in one place and you don't know where everybody is. And the whole not my child, I always told my kids that if you do something wrong, Mama's always got your back, but I need to know what you did from you. Don't let me hear from nobody else.
Exactly.
And so my kids had cell phones at a young age. My son would go in the bathroom, Mama, I just got in trouble. The teacher's gonna call you. So I'm already getting dressed. By the time they called, I'm walking in the school, right? And my sister tells this story. She picked up my son one day from, I think it was nursery school. I think he was in P1. She said, you had a good day? You was a good boy? No. You got in trouble? Yes. What you do? I punched Sensei in the face. Why you do that? Because they tried to take my food or whatever it was. He was very honest. He's going to come to you and tell you what he did. and why. And it's just like, oh Lord, here we go. But that's how I wanted them. I want to know first.
Exactly.
Like, tell me, and then I know how to handle things. So I was never not my child because
Exactly.
Yeah.
once
You
they're
can't
out of
say that.
our,
You
once they're
can't
out
say
of
that.
our
Yeah.
sight.
Sight, yeah.
And it's
You
not
don't know
just for
what's there.
boys and
Girls,
girls.
yeah.
Like nobody
Yeah.
is exempt.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But the fear of, like you said, you heard gunshot, you heard it's a fight in the parking lot with machetes. It's like, unless you know that him, it's like, okay, cool. If I know everybody's hand, once I heard that, it's like, okay. Not that I don't care about anybody else's
Right,
child getting
exactly.
stabbed or killed or whatever, but
it's
you
a
feel
sigh
a
of
little
relief.
less relief knowing that all your loved ones are home and safe. You worry a little less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
A quick thing, I'm gonna just jump in. My girls, they always message me. They go out, Mama, we're here, whatnot, you know, or they message their day. But we have a little chat as well, husband, wife, and 3 daughters. And they're always putting in, you know, that they're safe and whatnot. But I had a nephew, and unfortunately, he passed away. And the way how some of my family members found out was through social media. Yeah, having boys, I don't have a boy, so I can't relate to that part. But I always tell my girls, please let me know when you got to your destination. You know, if you're going out, please let me know. I feel for my sister, that was her only child. And, you know, telling her the pain in her voice when I had to make that call. But what was hard, she knew. How did she know? Social media.
Wow.
Can I make a
So
point?
that's just something, you know, I know we'll probably get into social media a bit later, but that's even hard too. You know, we're talking about the gunshots. We see it all the time. As soon as you open up Facebook or something, oh, gunshots this place, or you know, and I'm always saying, okay, my girl's in the house, but, you know, I always think that other parent out there, you know, do they know, or, you know, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard being a parent. You know, I'm like I said, I'm thankful. I'm grateful that my girls and I were very close, and they share a lot with me. Some things I'm like, should you be telling your mama? But, you know, I'm grateful that they do share those things with me. But I always go back, just listening to you all talking about having sons, and, you know, just desire relief knowing that your child is okay. I always go back to that night when, you know, my nephew never came home, you know, and then how family members found out before we were able to even tell them that he had passed,
Wow.
you know.
When we talk about all these tragic things happening, and one thing that we sometimes forget to factor in when we have these young men and we have these boys, the trauma that affects them. Because, and I'll speak from experience with my children, they have friends, they've lost friends, and the road traffic accidents, the stabbings, the shootings, the just mysterious things, you go for an operation and you never come out the operating room, and it doesn't get addressed. And then you wonder what's good, like the medicating with alcohol, with weed, with maybe experimenting with other things. And that's across the board, because we have all these men, and we have a lot of girls too, but we're talking about men right now. We have all these men, young men out here with all this trauma inside, and they don't know where to take it. Parent, for me, I try and give my children a space to come. They're not going to come if I'm asking them, why are you talking to me? Why are you asking me this? But you give them the space, because the video, social media, and you watch the incident take place, or you're on the road and you watch a collision take place. You're out with your friends. Is you could do to help your friend while he's sitting there, laying there, and all of that, incident after incident after incident. And we have our young men out here experience, no matter the things that they get involved in, does not take away the fact that they are experiencing this trauma and it's not being addressed. And so when we as women come and we're on them and we're nagging, and then nobody shouldn't accept abuse, nobody shouldn't accept this, but when these things happen and we're like, what's the root of it? Why is it, where is it coming from? And I feel like that's something that could be addressed in a school level,
And I was gonna
or
say
in
that.
a forum, because we have a lot of unaddressed trauma
Yes.
with all these incidents that's taking
What
place.
about our young children who are losing the fathers or mothers, you know, at
And they
such
grow
you
up.
see it in primary school.
Yeah.
You see the hurt in our young children, you know, and so this is actually a really good form that you got, Trevor. I wasn't expecting all of this type of conversation, but it's needed. It's needed, and it's like I said, the young children are hurting as well. We're talking about teenagers, adults. I'm talking about 4 or 5 year old children coming in, and they're hurting too.
Absolutely.
So we need to try and find a way of how we can help them as well. You know, just having these group of women, big group of women here talking. What are some of the ways what can we do to help? You know, what are some of the things we can do to help and support young mothers or young fathers or, you know, children who may have lost a father due to violence. I see that every day. We have children like that in school.
Yeah, well, I agree what you said, like with Trevor actually doing this
Yeah.
forum, I think it's excellent. And to answer your question in terms of like solution, we all have to take the time to start talking to other mothers, and especially to young mothers. I think we tend to live in Bermuda with this, it's like pride and shame all together,
Yes.
right? Pride and shame. I better not tell my story because, you know, what will people think about me?
Yeah.
But, you know, I got some pride too, and I want people to think that, you know, we want people to think everything's just great. I know one of the things that I get asked a lot, like more often than I can shake a stick at, you know, like, how do you manage to just live your life and have so much fun? This was a work in progress. It didn't just happen because I spent most of my life raising my sons. But we can show other women how we do it and just let go of that pride and let people know that, hey, I understand what you're going through because I've been through something similar. I can't necessarily say I know exactly how you feel,
Right.
but I've had some struggles too. We don't want people to know that we've had any type of struggles, like it's a curse, it's a sin. Let people know what your struggles are. You know, and people can learn from that.
Yes.
You know,
Sorry to interject.
No problem.
People have to see that another woman is overcoming.
Yes, absolutely.
And if
Yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
have disclosure, if you're not able to talk about
Right,
you,
right.
I mean, I wasn't always Nicole Smith, even though I'm not fabulous by any stretch of the
Yes,
imagination.
you are.
Right?
Yes, you
But what it takes to get to a certain point, and nobody would know some things that I deal with.
Exactly.
And sometimes you have to serve another woman
Exactly.
to empower her.
Yes,
You know, it's
yes.
all about empowerment.
That's my point.
Because
Exactly.
people see this image and they think it's squeaky
Perfect.
clean,
Exactly.
and they don't know what happens when I go home at night. You know, so I think that you have to learn to be a friend. And I think what a lot of women need is intimacy. You have to know yourself well enough to say, this is what's going on. I can't pretend that it ain't happening, but maybe I can help somebody else because I see it in them.
Exactly.
You know, and it's so important because when we talk about women's empowerment, it's not just once a year. It's every day.
Exactly.
Every day. And women are the biggest haters. No, let me correct that again. Black women. Black women. For some reason. I don't know what it is, because if we were to love each other
Right.
to the degree that we hate, we could be unstoppable.
Yes.
Unstoppable. But I see it every day.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But one day we'll evolve,
Yeah.
I guess.
But we have to compliment each other. Like I said, it feels weird, I guess, for guys to do it to guys, but just complimenting. No, I think I think they're probably not as open. Like we would say it out loud in front of other people, right? Guys probably do it a little more reserved, right? But the same thing applies, you know, for men. For men to get around other men who have, like, I mean, Trevor, you've told your story a million times, and look at you today. You know what I mean? Like, you are just such a phenomenal. I mean, look what you've accomplished. You're still accomplishing, and that's not to say that you're perfect, right? But there were probably moments, you know, in decades past or whatever, where people just couldn't stand you, wrote you off, couldn't see any good ever coming out of you, and now look at you now. Because I always laugh when Trevor posts stuff, right? You got all these haters of TNN, and they'll talk about TNN, they'll talk about Trevor, but when they need to know something, they go right
they
to
run
his
to
page.
his page.
It's like, duh. You know what I mean? So, and in all honesty, because a few years ago, I mean, Trevor and I got at it. I couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand him. And, you know, in hindsight, it was probably over something stupid, a big misunderstanding, but I wouldn't talk to Trevor, and Trevor wouldn't talk to me. But, you know, now I absolutely admire, you know, what he's doing, but you got to get to a point where you just mature, complement each other. You know, as I look at the women around this table, like collectively, we could do so much, you know, together. I look at, and for a quick commercial break, I have to praise Asia. Oh my gosh, when Asia came up the steps tonight, I was so excited to see her, because it's been a number of years, right? And Asia is now a mommy. And when I met Asia, I'm not going into detail, but her mom reached out to me to sit with Asia, and it was. And when I look at what Asia has become today, and what could have been, based on the wickedness and evilness of other females, right? It's just like, oh my gosh. And look at Asia today. So, you know, I'm just so proud of you. She's grown up so beautiful, and you're a mommy.
It's amazing you say that, because I said it to a lady today in court. Everything we go through in life is not for us.
No.
It's for someone else. Now, this is the example I use. You see those loquats that are coming into fruition now? Those loquats are not for the tree. It's for us to enjoy.
Yes.
Our fruit is not for us. It's for everyone else to pick off. Yeah, so, you know, we have to lift up one another, as Nicole said.
Well, you never know when you're going to be somebody else's survival guide, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Now let's jump back into, we're going to shift gears a little, because I want to talk about young women today, the unemployment rate for our young people. And I asked the minister 2 weeks ago, the young people, young male and female, at 33%. When I was young, we will always be able to get a job. I'm sure you can say, you can go into the hotel, it was always able to get a job. But our young people today are having challenges finding jobs. Now, our young women, this stuff is causing our young women to turn to online networking to make money. The, what is it? The OnlyFans, and I mean, it's going up a notch, and they are making money. $300 for a peep. $300 men are paying. How are we aware of this? What's going on? Feel free. In Bermuda, yes, in Bermuda. For those that don't know,
not
this
to
is
be
happening right in
networking
Bermuda.
online, but to maybe young women that cannot get a job. It's a little bit of everything, a little bit of laziness, a little bit of parents still babyifying their children. I always came from, I had to work, you know, I didn't rely on my parents for anything, and sometimes I couldn't, you know, because they had their own struggles as well, but I always was working. So for a friend to me to say, oh, how you got that job? Or, oh, how you got that job? It's like, I prayed and I worked for it. You can do the same thing. And like right now, what I can't stand the most is somebody like, oh, you could get me a job there. And it irritates me, because it's like, if I could get it and work for it and get an interview, so can you. And it's not saying that I'm not going to help you to get there, but it's just, a lot of people my age are just looking for handouts. And, you know, I guess depending on where you come from, you're either taught to get up and work, or, you know, you're just, your parents are just, mommy and daddy's money just got you from A to B all the time. So it's kind of like, I think that's what it is. And then touching on the networking, I guess that's probably a little easier too, because I put my pictures up, you gotta pay $15 to subscribe to see the rest of it. So that's maybe $300 in my bank account. I ain't gotta work hard for it. I could get the money right there and then. So I think that's what is And I don't want to say that's really where it's going, but it kind of is. It's there.
Tell the viewers what's going on, because a lot of
basically
people, a lot of
there.
people are unaware of this, what's happening right here in Bermuda. And Bermudian young women are flaunting their bodies, face, whole body.
But Trevor, I think it's a paradigm shift because
It is.
What we once valued, we
Yes.
no longer do.
Exactly. Right.
I remember me and my girlfriends at 13 years old, we were working, and my mother hated it, my father hated it, because they said, once you start working, you'll always work, right? But I was working at home care shoppers for maybe $100 a Saturday or $50 a Saturday, and that was great. That was great for me at 13. And my uncle had the business. Maybe, oh my gosh, was I supposed to be working at 13? But anyway.
It's all right. I worked at 13 too.
Yeah.
Indiana Hotel.
Yeah.
My father was the general manager,
Yeah.
so I did too.
And then when we got older, we would do like afternoons after school at Trimminghams, and Trimminghams was Trimminghams and everything, right? And we wanted to have our own money. Not for the material things, not for the bag, the shoes, just to have our own money to go out so we wouldn't have to go to our parents and get rejected every 5 seconds. But now, what young women need money for is those things which would otherwise be out of reach. The trips, the lavish lifestyle. And a lot of that is attributed to social media. I mean, on TikTok, you got the guy going on the road and say, let me see what your apartment looks like for $7 million, or what are you wearing today? And you know, half of them are lying. They're putting the ice meter on their jewelry, and it doesn't go off, and all sorts of stuff. Like, everybody wants to be a superstar with no talent. So nobody wants to work hard anymore. They want overnight success. They want overnight money. They want to do the least but get the most. So they'll show their Tootsie Cat for $5,000 and make maybe $25,000 a day and all that. But that's, unless we find some way to reverse it and bring some value back into this, it will get worse and worse and worse. And sometimes I don't like talking in terms of problems, I like talking in terms of solutions. But every time I look, I feel like saying, what next? What next? Like, nobody has any shame anymore.
No.
You know? I know I'm talking like a dinosaur, and I am.
No.
But like, I'm saying, well, are you serious?
But you're right though. You have, like, I started 2024? Gosh, 22 years ago when I started my girls etiquette class, right? And I get girls into my program who, for the most part, they're going home to good upbringing. But then I worry about the ones who come and learn the lessons, but they're still going back into an environment which is going to pretty much undo what I'm teaching. So, you know, how do you get past that? Because I know when I was growing up, I have my mom, I have my grandmother, and I have my great grandmother. And their standards were standards that you just absolutely could not shuck and jive and wiggle. It was what it was, and you had to meet those standards. And we're looking at young ladies right now who, like you said, social media, everything's looking glamorous, fast money, fast cars, fast jewelry, fast everything. And how can I get it? Because a lot of them don't necessarily have the support, the adult support of the mother, the grandmother, or whomever to say, hey, hold on. Let's go back to, like you said, you talk about shame, the self-respect.
Right.
Let's look at the self-respect, right? Like, these girls are doing this for the fast money without any thought whatsoever about any future ramifications. You know, 10 years from now, when you become a mother, and now this stuff's out there on social media, which you can't delete, who is teaching them that you shouldn't do these things right now? Because, and I think part of it is because we also have, I think, a generation of parents, mothers in particular, who are afraid to say no. They're just afraid of the pushback and the lash out they're going to get from their children when they say, no, you can't do this, right? Or, well, you know, she's going to have to find out one way or the other. So let her find out on her own. No, we have to get to a point where we say, no, you're not going to do this. End of subject.
And some parents want to be their children's friend.
Friend, exactly.
You know, so it's like the saying no part. I can't say no. If I ain't got it, then how are they going to get it? So they'll do these things. But on another note, you do have some children coming back from university and they can't get a job in the field that they went away to study. You know, so it flip-flops. In one hand, you know, the children are saying, I need to make money some way, somehow. And then they're like, oh, I came back from school, I can't get a job. What do we do? It's not a lot of jobs out there. It's not an abundance of jobs out there. Most jobs, they would say you need to have experience. You know, my youngest daughter, she's been back from university now for about 3 years, and everywhere she goes, oh, do you have this amount of experience? She's like, Mama, why did I go to school? You paid all this money. You know, you and Daddy paid all this money, sent me to school. I said, just keep trying. You know, and she's doing things, but she wants to do something she went to school to do. You know, and it's unfortunate that sometimes they get discouraged. You know, but we have to just keep pushing them. And
what type of job is she looking for? Put it out there.
Well, she got her degree in sports and business management.
Okay.
Yeah, so if anybody out there needs something, but you know, she loves coaching, and that's what she does. And I always thank the people that put her on. So we have like St. David, Devonshire Coates, Andrew Bascom, Dennis Ron. These are people that look out for her. And because she used to play soccer as well, so they look out for her, and they always, okay, Jada, you could come on board, and you know, we'll help you also footy promotions and stuff like that. But she's like, I want a job, a job, you know. And I'm like, well, you know, it will come, you know. And she's doing little odds and ends, like she's working at the gas station. I tell her, that's a job. It's an honest living, you know. That's not what you got your papers in, but it's an honest living, you know. But this social media, I'm like, well, OnlyFans, okay. It wasn't, and I'm not that old. I keep saying I'm very young, but it wasn't around when I was there. And the social media, the cameras and stuff, we did things that we were like, what? Right. But these guys, they do things now, and it's out there, it's on camera. And like Shanette said, you cannot get rid of that. You know, once you put it out there, it's there.
I think that in some ways, some of these things that are being put onto social media were always there. They just weren't sent out to the world. Because you had these stories of the girls in college, the doctors and lawyers and big people now, but they was working in the strip clubs. But it wasn't the cell phone recording it.
Right.
You know, you might have had the little VHF thing that, you know, whatever it's called. And you had it, but then you also have, like Nicole said, the shift in values. So people are not as, in Bermuda, they're still shocked by a lot of stuff, but people are not as shocked and they're not as offended. And then we have this culture where you can't say anything about anybody because that's their choice, and everybody has that choice. So I feel like the shift is everywhere. It's like multi-dimensional. And then you look at unemployment with a degree. Then look at single parents, even look at married people, because you had where back in the day, you were 16, no, you were 15 and somebody was just waiting for you to turn 16, but you was getting the lunch money. You turned 16, you got the V50, you got a little bit older, okay, now, you know, have a kid. Your kid was always dressed, it was coming from a guy. Growing you up, they grew you up, like in the bar, the little thing that the woman was talking. He said, don't let nobody touch you before you know, I'm grooming you up. And a lot of men did that. Grooming now, that's what they call it. And there's a lot of people, the older guys, they used to sit around and look. I used to see them walk in school. They would sit around, oh yeah, when's your birthday? Oh, what color bike you on? You know, all those things. But now it's all on social media. And now it's acceptable. And then you think about maybe as a single mother, and maybe she didn't get the values that said, oh, my child might think about this. I had to think about, you think I wasn't offered those things? You think I had to work 4 jobs because I really wanted to work 4 jobs? I had to say, I have 4 boys. One of them sitting up somewhere talking about, oh yeah, that thing was nice last night. And they started, he's like, that's my mama. You know what I'm saying? I had to think about those things. You think I didn't want to go sleep early one night? You think I wanted to be driving down the road at 3 o'clock, have to pull over and be like, okay, I don't know how I just missed that wall. You think I ain't think about OnlyFans? I'm 50. I'm like, maybe I should get these jeans. I don't have to show my face. I can wear a mask. It runs through my head.
I think we've all thought of that.
But I'm saying and I'm not gonna say it runs through your head because you're like, oh my God, you know that thing where the deaths are low. I mean, the funds are low and the deaths are high. Mm-hmm. You want to smile, but you have to sigh because you're sitting there and you're like, oh, can I make it to the end of the month for my paycheck? Nope. Okay, what am I pay? Okay, I'm straight. Water heater burst. Okay, got that fit. I'm straight. Ceiling falls in. Shoot.
But
how did I forget to pay my light bill? You know what? I'm going on YouTube. I'm getting me an OnlyFans page. Ain't nobody gonna notice me. I'm only gonna market it to this place. Don't nobody know me. I'm going away. I'm gonna take a trip. Ain't nobody gonna know.
But this is the difference. That's you doing it out of desperation. These are doing it because that's what they're gonna do. That's the choice.
But it's easy when you see it, when you see those podcasts and stuff, and they glamorize it. When you had the girls sitting there and they're wearing all the expensive stuff, and they're making the money off of it, and they glamorize it, but the gas they ain't getting nothing. But you think they're getting something. It's only a select few that make that money, but they make it seem like it's everybody. And do you have what it takes? You might. But for the most part, when people start seeing, they're going to talk about you. Are you strong enough? Because I was watching a podcast this morning, and they had a little girl talking about how nobody wants to talk to her because she conducted herself in such a way. And it was like, if you make a decision to live your life a certain way, talk to yourself first. Are you comfortable with that? Because if you're comfortable with how you're living, people will respect you because you respect yourself. But if you don't respect yourself, nobody else will. So no matter what decisions you make, no, everybody's not going to like it. But if you're comfortable and you carry yourself with confidence, people's not going to keep shunning you. Because I'm like, well, she's okay with it. Who am I to judge? Right? Sometimes you have to work outside what you're educated for. Unfortunately, I didn't go to college. I wanted to go to college, but I didn't get that opportunity. Educate yourself. You want this job? Okay, I'm competing for this job, but Ace girl over here speaks 3 languages. I only speak 1. So how you think you're going to get that job? Because your mama knows the answer? Maybe not. And I feel like we're always saying, oh, well, I should get this. I deserve this. I want it. No, stop smoking weed so you can pass the drug test. Educate yourself. Maybe you need a little bit more. Maybe you need to learn another language. One thing I could say about myself, and I'm not saying it to put anybody else, when I get stressed, I'm going to go look for a course. Like, that's my thing now. I found this little free thing. 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll see me post, oh, this such and such course. Because it's little things and it adds up. And if you're young coming from school, get the little things as you are building your resume. Because it's harder to get a job when you don't have one. But if you get a job doing anything, because when I moved to Bermuda, I was working behind a counter, probably making $12 an hour. But I was able to say, I work here to put on my resume so I can get a job. So I can get a better job. And then how do you conduct yourself when you're not at work? Because sometimes you might just look whatever, you respond to people however, and then when you go for that interview, I don't think so.
And that's where social media comes in too.
So it's all these things that come together because maybe you want to do certain things, but maybe you have to chill out for 6 months to put yourself in a position to get what you want. Look ahead, make a goal. You make yourself a little goal. If you don't get it in the time frame you gave yourself, reevaluate where you were or where you are to see what you need to do to get to the next point. Everything doesn't happen when we want it to happen. What they say, go up, you make plans and go at laughs or something like that.
That's right.
But you try, if you go towards it, because if you are honestly and genuine, everybody must feel like, oh, I can't never get ahead, I can't do this. I feel like financially, I keep trying to struggle. But then you know how I look at my life? I'm blessed. I can do what I need to do. It's other people worse than me, and not to discount my struggles, but where I can help, I can help. And I have my health, and I try and keep that. So make your goals. Try and stay positive, because if you stay negative, you're going to draw negativity to you. So if you stay positive, it's hard sometimes. You know how many times I'm selling my car, and I'm crying, and I'm crying, and I'm crying. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, okay.
You had your cry. No,
think about where your blessings are and what I can do. Because I'm like, I would love for somebody to come step in and help me. but I have to help myself first.
That's
And then I'm like, why am I going through this? Is it because I know how to figure it out and somebody else can't? Because you just never know what other people are going through. So I know the things I've been through, I can't help other people. Like, I'm not going to go to somebody and, help them sort out their budget, because that's not me. But I can help them figure out how to feed their family for a month. That's right. I can do that. I can help somebody figure out how to make the clothes work for the children, because there's a lot of things I learned growing up in a gender-based society where women had their role and men had their role. So there's a lot of things that I did learn, but some things I just didn't click, right? But I'm making it work, so where I can and where I can get it from other people, I just feel like, I'm not telling you just walk around, hey. I smile a lot, yeah. And sometimes I don't want to smile, but sometimes my smile is what helps you get through your day.
That's it. That's it.
Where was I? I was in DC, and I was sitting on the steps outside a restaurant one day, and this guy walked across like, hey, how you doing? I was like, I'm doing great, thanks. Oh my God, you just, but you never know what other people are going through, because everybody has a struggle.
That's it.
Everybody has somebody sick. Everybody has somebody in jail. Everybody has somebody doing something. Somebody's got somebody that's broke. Somebody is the pillar for their family, and they don't have nobody to turn to.
And I can say that listening to Linnell, she is that kind-hearted, always trying to, how can I help? Linnell, I will consider Linnell one of my newest friends. We became friends probably about 5 years ago, maybe.
It's been
Is it?
long?
Yeah.
Probably 2.
Knock you out. Yeah, about 5 years, and we became friends, and we do stuff together. We go out and what have you. But I know sometimes I call her and I'm like, Linnell, because I'm to the point now where I try to just get away from it all and go and do something nice and relaxing, right? And it's like, well, I can't because I'm working one of her million jobs, right? I want to, but I can't. I'll call Linnell, or she'll call me, but I enjoy spending time with Linnell. But she's got a big heart. She's got a really, really big heart.
And like Nicole,
Yeah.
Nicole said, and the rest of us were saying, we need to empower and
Yes,
support each
exactly.
other. And once we do that, it's so much more we can do.
Yeah.
We're battle off the numbers, right? So, like we said already, thanks for having this platform, because hopefully it will reach out to other people that may say, okay, I would like to say something. I have something I could add, or how could I help this person, or this is what I do. But it's amazing when women do come together and encourage and support the amount of love that's shown. And I feel it in this room this evening.
Yeah.
I feel it. We all have something to share. We all have a testimony, And for some people, it just may be the tea, as they say. But for others, it could be saving someone else's life. I thank God every day for the women He placed in my life. Some were only in there for a short time, a season, and others are still in there for my lifetime. And I thank God for those ones that stuck by me through it all. But as you grow, you start to learn and you start to know different things. You start understanding, you said earlier, Shanette, about loving yourself first, and I keep going back to that. Once you start loving yourself first, once you start knowing who you are and valuing who you are, other people they have no other choice but to respect you. But you must have to first respect yourself,
I'm going to ask you this question that's just come to me about the changing appearance, the cosmetic surgery.
Let me tell you,
You need a show all by itself.
I can't speak to that. I cannot speak to that. I can't speak to that.
Why you can't speak to it?
Because some might say,
Why you can't speak to it now?
some
I have a fear.
getting it done are saying
No.
that's a choice. But you got the fake boobs,
Everything.
the fake breasts, the fake eyelashes, the fake
Oh my gosh.
everything, and man, but man are saying basically we got fake women.
Yeah, Trevor, real
So-
story. A
Go
friend of mine spoke to me not too long ago and was having quite a conversation. I swear that the Lord knocked me dead if I'm lying. She was striking up a conversation, and me just being friendly, I'm going along with, yes, girl, how you doing, right? Well, Come to find out later in the evening, she was offended because I didn't know who she was. She's totally transformed.
Right.
Like literally from the maybe 250 pounder that I knew, to like 150, and everything looks different. And I was shocked. I honestly didn't recognize her. And this is somebody but this is it. So women, again, what I would say very quickly on that topic is just like, when you are just so unhappy with yourself, it's different if it's a medical issue and you have to, get certain things done. But to me, that speaks to somebody who is just so unhappy and reached a dead end in terms of other ways you can lose weight. This appearance was totally different, totally. And I actually feel sorry for women like that. I really do. Because they've just reached a whole different level. It is like a low that I have to completely transform my body to be accepted or to be loved or to be appreciated or to get a relationship or whatever it was. But the worst part is, right, not only did I not recognize her, but she actually looks pretty bad. That's the worst part, like she just looks, it didn't work out. Right? Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, as you see, I've joined the meeting. My name's Lynette. Wow, plastic surgery and the artificial stuff. Okay. I do my nails. I do my lashes. I've been doing my lashes for years. I don't wear makeup, but I find my lashes are fine. So I get them full. I like it makes me feel good.
Yes.
I think we are so multifaceted, and I respect everybody's opinion. I myself, I used to weigh almost 300 pounds, 5'2". That's a lot of weight to carry. Over the years, I've lost a lot of weight, and I would say, when you lose a lot of weight, the doctors always tell you, you need to lose weight. Your friends are telling you, your significant others, everybody's like, you need to lose weight, da 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 da. So I decided to lose weight. What I wasn't consulted on was the transformation of my body. And the emotional, mental sort of thing where they tell you, you gotta love the skin you're in. And I think that's where it is. People get plastic surgery for whatever reason. We could hash all night to the reason why an individual got it. And at the end of the day, it is their choice. I don't really condemn anybody that gets it, but then we have to look the motive behind why did I get it. The least of our concerns are the lashes, I can tell you that. The least of our concerns are the nails. The biggest part is plastic surgery. I've had a friend that almost died because of it. It's something you have to look deeper in. We always dealt, especially with women, we have comparison issues.
Yes.
Okay, you're competing with, like you say, how it's so hard to get along. If you're not confident in who you are with yourself, what you're not confident in, you'll find fault in another person. Like if you're the most beautiful girl and I don't feel like I'm beautiful, I'm going to find fault in you for the justification that it's my internal demons or it's my internal struggle, but I'm speaking it to you. And I think that's a shame. I think we do need to encourage one another. We need to make room for each other's differences, each other's backgrounds, each other's upbringing, the trauma that you spoke about. The trauma doesn't start bang in the moment. It starts, like someone said, I think, in the womb. So, and you've got to look at it. We've all lived on this earth a certain amount of years, okay? Because you may have lived there shorter and I've lived longer. There is an asset to me living longer, but there's also an asset to you living shorter because you are being raised in a different generational time than when I was raised. When I was raised, children were seen and basically not heard. Not all of us wanted to go outside and play. Don't let them fool you on that, you know. So, and one thing, I had a daughter that she got pregnant young. And one thing, it was heartbreaking because we always have a dream for our children. But like I told her, you have to be prepared, and I'm not being cruel, I'm being realistic. You have to be prepared if you decide to keep the child, because even at that age, it's their decision when they're young. You would think it's the parent, but it wasn't. It was her decision. She decided to keep it. But at that age, and deciding to keep the child in all of her 16 years and all of your young years, you've only lived a certain amount of time. How could anybody expect you to have the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, you understand, at that age to have it all together? But you feel the pressure. You felt the pressure. Oh my God, I'm in it, but everybody's like giving me their opinions. They're not even saying, well, how do you exactly feel? How you're gonna respond. If you feel safe, you're gonna pour your guts. If you don't feel safe, you're not. And I would say, in my experiences, most young men, young women, even us as grown adults, we do not feel safe to pour our guts so we can heal and grow. Okay? So with all that artificial stuff, we can joke about it, but it's some deep stuff going on. We can condemn, we can judge, we can laugh, but I can tell you, my transition through losing weight and still going through it, I battle with it. To have plastic surgery, to get rid of the loose fat, the little tuck, the little fold, because visually, what do I see around me on social media? Perfection. Even on our island, we attain to be something that we're not, and that is perfect. But you know why we do? Because we want to be acceptable. There is something inside of us that is looking for affirmation, something else to tell us, oh, we're acceptable, we're okay. No, you have to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm okay. I'm not going to depend on whether Nicole tells me, you know, or Shanette, or my girl here, or anybody. I have to look, and it's a working out. It's a war, and the hardest war to fight is when you feel that you're in it all by yourself, and you're the only one going through it. COVID, detrimental to our health, our mental state, but it was how you perceived it individually was how you came out of it. I can't judge you for whatever and how you came out. Nobody can, you know, we've got to give room to one another, just like we've got to give room to our men. And that's pretty hard for me to say, but I'm gonna say it because we do need to show the example, you know. We need to show that, because they expect us to be emotional. They expect us to be caring and nurturing and understanding. But see, because we've been through so much, it's hard to pull that out, to say, you know, you've got your guy coming, or you got your son coming, and, you know, your son's talking to you in a certain way, and it's like, you've been through with his father, you had that divorce, it's like, and then there's the son. The son is portraying traits similar to his father. How do I react? Because his father's gone, and this is, you know, and but I see, oh, you know, like father, like son, there's some personality there. Now, ooh, something's welling up where the same negative emotion I felt for the father, I now feel for the son. So how do I, you know, pull back, especially if he's acting those type of personalities as the father, you know, and it's like, you know what? I had a heart-to-heart talk with my son. I wouldn't say he did it willingly, and I hope to God he never sees this. And he said to me, Mommy, how would you say that, how would you think that you raised me? And I'm like, you know, well, our emotions, your son comes to you. I mean, my daughter, I could receive it because we're daughters, we're feminine. We could relate. You know, I could relate to a female readily, but to a male, because of my history with males, I'm come to this point where my son is like, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? How do I feel? Inside, my Rolodex was just going in my brain, like, what's the answer? What's the answer? Because I didn't know from what point was he asking, how do I feel, how I raised him. So all of a sudden I said, well, because I'm all nervous inside, I'm shaking, is this the right answer? But then what came to me was, I said, well, I guess I did the best that I knew to do at that time. And it's like, well, that's not what I'm asking. And I'm like, oh my God. I could feel the panic in me, you know, because I really wanted to have a relationship with him. Because he had now transitioned from a toddler, that 10-year-old. There was a young man sitting in front of me, early 20s, asking his mother, how do you feel that you raised me? So I said, you know, I really don't know what answer you're looking for. I just feel like I'm giving you the wrong answer. What is it that you really want to ask me? And it took a while to get it out there. Sat in silence for a bit, and then he said, well, I said to him, well, I don't know what to say. Tell me, how do you think, and it was a serious question, how do you think that you were raised?
How do you think I
How
am?
do you think? What do you
He's
think?
asking about himself.
Right.
How do you think
do
I am? And then he answered you.
Right.
Okay.
But the real question was, he wanted to tell me how he was raised. But it was that communication level of understanding where we have to say, it's like somebody saying, I love you, you tell me you love, well, how do you love me? Do you love me just as a best friend, or you love me and we're getting married and living happily ever after? We need to go deeper in definition. So he said, well, to be honest with you, I really felt like I raised myself. Now, at that time, we grew up in a parent home, you know, mother, father, children. But one thing I could say, you could be present in a home, have all the chess pieces in place, but they're not moving where they need to move. And this is where we have to give room for people's upbringing, for the culture, and to create a safe place. Because we can say women can come together, but are we in the same mindset? Are we, not that we're thinking alike, but like she said, the biggest thing, she said, empowerment. Do you agree? Empowerment. Do you agree? Empowerment. Or is this just Nicole, this young lady, and now, and then the rest of us don't believe it?
Right.
We're going to be battling. It's going to be a this thing and not a this thing. So that when we do disagree, we have different opinions, because we've got one common thing, empowerment. Look, we're knocking heads, but we can't come apart. You see what I'm saying?
It's a start.
Yes, it's a start. I mean, if we're willing to commit, that's all that's needed.
So before we wrap up, I will give all of you an opportunity to give some closing remarks. We will have another program. I'm not too sure of location. We might just move throughout the island, but this is the start to Women Talk, a roundtable discussion. We'll start with Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith and I want to see you on the next show though, because we have a lot to
Well, look, I'm not a parent, but I know what it is to be a child, right? So,
but you're a woman.
indeed. But I think that these discussions need to be had more often, and they have to be full and frank, you know. I mean, it doesn't even have to start out with just a big roundtable discussion, but just you have to share with a girlfriend, and you have to be honest. And I think a lot of our empowerment, how we interact with other people, especially women, starts with ourselves. And it's so important that we learn to be intimate with ourselves. Like, learn yourself. You know, nobody ever told you that when you were growing up. They said know yourself, but you never knew what it meant. You know, you thought it was just this phrase. But know your triggers. Know your red flags, because red flags are about you too, not just about the other person. When you get that little twinge, like something ain't right, I don't know what it is, but I know down the road I'm gonna see it. But trust yourself. you know, and learn to be by yourself, you know, because it is only through knowing yourself that you're going to attract what you want.
I agree.
Because a lot of these guys around are looking good, but have nothing to give. And then all the guys sitting on the road, the guys up in the Crystal Palaces too, making 7 figures, okay? That doesn't mean the good for you. No, learn what's good for you and what isn't. About girlfriends, about guys and everything. And I didn't learn it overnight. I had to kiss some frogs. You know what I mean? But you, and you have to learn the part that you play in your own demise as well. Like you gotta be accountable. You gotta learn how you contribute to your nonsense. You know some things that you do ain't cool. I know some things that I do ain't cool, ain't a lot though. But you know your own ignorance, right? And you gotta be honest with yourself. You know, you gotta be honest. You can't put stuff on other people. Earn your stuff. You know, earn your stuff. And even like getting involved with the wrong man or having the wrong guy be your baby daddy. That's on you, you know. You know he was good for nothing. You know he didn't know how to save money. You know what we need to do as women? We need to date. We need to stop laying down with everybody. Not that I not that we did. I'm just saying, right? And learn to date. Get to know people. Get to know people. You know, if he don't take care of his children, you don't want him up your house. You don't want him in your life.
Exactly.
You know, if you're not gonna take care of your children, you're gonna take care of me when I'm down and out. You know, so it's just logical stuff that we gloss over and we say, he'll be all right, you know, he'll change. But if he ain't changing for himself, he ain't gonna change for you.
That's right.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And your 2 cents is really good. Like I said already, thanks for this platform that you have created, and I can't wait to see what else you have for women. Yes, this is just the first of many, and I think this is the start for us to all get together to encourage, to support, to empower. Maybe we can exchange numbers, because you never know, something I'm going through, somebody else may be able to help me, or something you're going through, I may be able to help you. So I just think that right now, just us empowering and supporting, encouraging each other is the best way. I also want to just put out there everything on social media, the glitz and the glamour. Trust me, some of those things is just for social media, because behind those other things, they got those masks, and you know, they don't want you to see the real them. So please don't take everything you see on social media as face value. Go out there, find out who you are for you, love yourself, and continue to just be the beautiful person that God wants you to be.
So I learned a lot from everyone. I guess I could say, you know, my own struggles that I've been through, and then to see, you know, how certain people have overcome that same struggle that I was going through, that I thought I wasn't going to come through. And just, you know, like you said, encouraging and empowering one another. That's what we have to do. Because it's just a lot of people that are just, jealousy is just real. It's a terrible disease, right? And we all have been jealous of someone about something. But it's just like, some people take it down, like you said, because I think you're pretty and I don't think I am. I'm going to turn you down just to make myself feel better. And that's just something that is very high. And, you know, just hoping that, I hope some young people watch this, you know, and could be encouraged as well, just to see, you know, let's just help one another, build each other up, because that's the only way we're going to make it, you know, and not think your struggles are, don't be prideful of all of that too, because we'll got some demons we're fighting. Like you said, we'll got red flags. Yes.
I would just simply say, you know, I said it earlier, and it's a theme around the table. Love yourself. And if I could leave everybody with 2 quick thoughts. I know initially we were starting to talk about men. To all women, please understand that you don't need a man to define who you are. You are not incomplete if you don't have a man in your life. That's really crucial. And the last thing I would say is that, you know, through it all, find some sort of spiritual balance as well. I'm not saying, you have to go to church every Sunday or whatever, but find something that is going to help to keep you grounded as an individual, so that when you do come up against the stress and the anger and all the other things that kind of make you agitated, because those things actually, now as you get older, cause health issues, you have something to fall back on. So that's what I would leave everybody with.
So thank you for inviting me to partake in this. I initially came saying I'm not gonna say much. Like Shanette heard. Shanette could say everything for everybody. But like was saying, find your confidence. Find your spot where you can go out and be your person. And I tell my children that if you don't think well of yourself, nobody else will too. So try and instill it in yourself. I am strong. I am beautiful. I am smart. You don't necessarily have to use those words, but find your confidence. Because when you find your confidence, even when people come at you, you can come back to yourself. Give your children a safe space. They might not want to talk to you right there and then. They might hate you. I feel like if my children don't hate me a couple of times, I'm not doing my job as a parent. Let them hate you for a minute. They'll come back. They'll come back. Fine. They might not want to say nothing. But if I know my son says, oh, can you take me such and such? I know they want to talk about something. Give them the space. Give your children the space, your sons, your daughters, your nieces, your nephews, your godchildren. Try and be a little confidential, because everything they tell you ain't for your friends. And then even for yourself, we want to empower each other. Even though we're being frank, you can't be frank with everybody. Find yourself somebody that, like she said, find that intimacy. Find that intimacy for yourself and do your thing. Try and be happy with yourself. Me, I'm been fat, I'm been skinny, I'm been athletic. I'm like, they make clothes in my size. So however I am, that's what I'm gonna be. What you see is what you get. I try to be frou-frou, I can't. I try and be this, I can't. I am me, I am opinionated. I don't give my advice all the time, but I have a lot of it. But I just try to do the best I can. If you try and do the best you can and be the best you can, when you don't make the mark, you can say, I gave it my best, I'll do better next time. You set your goals. If you don't make it in 3 months, okay, well maybe I needed 6 months to make it. You can't please everybody. You're not going to please yourself. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes because life don't come with a plan. But what is guaranteed is always going to be somebody around you that can help you. You just have to find that person.
Exactly. I just want to encourage our young men, hang in there. You're unique, you're strong, you have God-given talents. Don't let society define who you are. You need to know who you are in spite of your upbringing, in spite of your circumstances. You need to know down in your core that you are strong. Obstacles just don't come our way to just sit there. They come our way for us to overcome them, and our young men are very discouraged, they're very disheartened, and I would say to forgive us for the lack of where we didn't make room for them. This is happening because we want it to work. We want our country to move forward. Yes. We want our young men to have jobs. We want our young men to have a future beyond years that they don't, and it may start with us, I don't know. But I want our young men and our old men to be encouraged, to know that we have their backs in spite of, That could be my son, even if you don't have a son, I don't care. A siren goes off in my neighborhood. Even if my daughter's home, I'm still wondering, well, I wonder, is that somebody I know? You get your phone going off in the middle of the night, and it's like forwards of pictures of accidents. And it's like, this is not your end. Be encouraged. You are strong. You are an overcomer. You are a conqueror. You are special. You are unique. You are somebody, and we have to believe that for ourselves, whether we're male or female, I appreciate you, Trevor, very much. I thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
Trevor, thank you.
I just want to thank all those that have joined us tonight, ladies. And there are 10 women in the room. You might have seen about 6 or 8 of them, 6 of them. But there are some substitutes on the side, and on the next one, they will be joining in. And another thing I want to say to parents, fathers and mothers, handle your daughters with all these fighting at the school. We didn't touch on that, but that was a part of my, in here, what I have written down. It's disturbing to see our young women fighting, young girls fighting like that. So we're going to talk about that the next time. I want to thank my partner, Kendrick Zool, that's at another location tonight. I want to thank the Swan Group that supports TNN Network, Wilmont Trucking. Stay tuned for the next Women's Talk, a roundtable discussion. Thank you for joining TNN.